By the time this program is over, you'll have a much clearer understanding of what those words really mean. The show is called Wishes Fulfilled. It's based on a book that I have just completed. I spent the last year or so writing it, researching it, living it, practicing it, and have come to a place in my heart where I know that it's really not so much about what you want, in terms of what you manifest. It's who you are. You manifest what you become as a human being. And this program is about teaching you to become the highest consciousness being that you can be, to be aligned with your source, to be aligned with God. And when you are, you become a creator and a co-creator in your life. I'd like to open this program with a poetic offering from Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who wrote The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And he also wrote a poem that I used earlier in my life in one of my earlier books, Real Magic. Listen to the words and ask yourself if they really mean something, if they'd be true for you, if you really believe in what the poet is offering here. He says, what if you slept? And what if, in your sleep, you dreamed? And what if, in your dream, you went to heaven and there picked a strange and wonderful flower? And what if, when you awoke, you held that flower in your hand? Ah, what then? The poet asks, do you believe that it's possible to bring something from the world of the formless, from the world of a dream, into the world of the physical? The poet was speaking metaphorically, but I am not. This is really a program about applying those words in your own reality. Most of us were raised to become ordinary. And I'm not putting down ordinary, but ordinary is just not good enough for me. Ordinary is, you go through your life and you fill out the forms and you pay your taxes and you do what your parents tell you and you're honorable and you're honest and you're a good citizen and then you die. Extraordinary is something very, very different. This is about recognizing within yourself that there's something very, very extraordinary that you haven't been trained to believe in, to come to a place where you can apply it and put it into your life. And I want to say to you that I have been working in my life at living an extraordinary life, and so many powerful things have happened to me. I'll be sharing with you throughout this program, but more than that, you can go way beyond ordinary. You can go way beyond just being average. There's not an average person watching this show. There's not an average person in this room tonight. All of us are extraordinary. We just have to come to believe it. There was a friend of mine. Her name was Portia Nelson. Portia passed away a few years back. She lived up in Seattle, and she was at a seminar, and they asked her to write on a 5x7 sheet of paper or card the 5 chapters of her life. They only wanted to give them 5x7 cards because they didn't want to get too wordy. And Portia Nelson sat down and wrote these words about the 5 chapters of her life, and I thought I would share them here with you. They're so beautiful. Chapter 1 of my life. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault, and it takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. It isn't my fault, and it still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It's my own fault. And I get out immediately. Chapter 4 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5 of my life. I walk down another street. Isn't that great, Portia Nelson? I walk down another street. And this is another street. Look, it's called New Street, Old Street. Walking down another street means leaving behind ordinary. And when I use the word ordinary, it has deep and profound meanings to me. Ordinary just simply isn't enough. Ordinary is when you want to become average and to fit in. But to get to extraordinary, what you do is you have to consult the invisible place within yourself. And this is called your soul. and your soul, well, I jotted down a few words about the soul based on a lecture I heard from a great teacher of mine who lived in Bulgaria. He was an Asiatic science teacher, and his lecture was very profound. And I wrote these words after listening to one of his recorded lectures. He said, "The ideal of the soul, the thing it asks for, is neither knowledge nor light nor happiness. The ideal of the soul is space, immensity. The one thing your soul needs is to be free, to expand and reach out, and to embrace the infinite. Yes, the ideal of the soul is infinity. It is miserable when it is circumscribed and restricted. It is a fragment of the universal soul, which is infinite." That's what I speak about here in this program. The need to move beyond just fitting in, the need to move past being circumscribed. The soul does not like when you get fenced in, when it is told what to do, when it's told it has limitations, when it's told it can't become that. And so many of us go through our life with these enormous limitations that we've placed upon ourselves that have been handed to us from the time that we were little boys and little girls. If you look on the screen, you'll see something that is very important and powerful to me. I was swimming not too long ago up in Minneapolis. I went to see my daughter Tracy, and up and down I would swim the pool, and every time I would look up, I would see this written on the wall, and I thought, as I was preparing to do this program, this is just so important and significant. If you would like to accomplish something, you must first expect it of yourself. And my question to you is, what do you expect of yourself? Do you expect to be able to perform miracles, to attract into your life the kind of prosperity that you are entitled to? Do you expect that you can manifest the kind of relationships that you would like? In order to be able to have these kinds of expectations for yourself, you have to make a dramatic change, a dramatic shift. You must change what's possible for you and what you believe is possible for you. But the question becomes, who am I? You know, I've been teaching philosophy for 40 years now, either at the high school level or junior high school level or university level, graduate school. And now, in stages all over the world, and in front of audiences such as this watching at home and here this evening. Who are you? And what is real? And my teacher in India, his name was Nisargadatta Maharaj. He was asked the question, "Swami, what is real? Master, what is real?" And his response was, "That is real which never changes." So what part of you is real by that definition? Who are you that never changes? So many of us believe that we are our bodies. I don't know about you, but this body that I'm in right now is changing all the time. Very fast, as a matter of fact. In fact, I, Wayne Dyer, the I that is I, have been in many, many bodies since I incarnated for the first time here on this planet. Right here 71 years ago. So I was in, oh my goodness, look here, what happened to that body? And there it is. There's another body that I was in, and there's another body, and oh, there's my brother Dave. And there I am on the right, another body, and then I was in, look at that haircut. They did it with garden shears in those days. But I lived in a foster home. There I am. Look at that hair. Can you believe that? Is that possible? And then I was in this body, and then I was in this body, and I have been in toddler bodies, baby bodies, teenage bodies, macho bodies, mustache bodies, endless bodies. I have been in with my little ones and my 8 children. And the fact of it is that when you think about it, when I was in the 20-year-old body that I was in, I really thought it was real, didn't you? Even the body that you and all of you look at your body and think, well, let's see. I was in a 20-year-old body. And is it real? Was it real? Well, you believe that it was real, but I've been looking for that 20-year-old body for 50 years now. I can't find it. And the fact of it is, the body that you're in right now is not who you are because it doesn't meet that fundamental definition of what is real. What is real is what never changes. The fact is that who you are keeps occupying new bodies every single moment that you are here on this planet. It was a great poet. Her name was Emily Dickinson. I feel like she must have been a sister, a soulmate of mine. She once had a poem. She said, holding up a handful of dust, she would reach down and say, "This quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies and lads and girls, was laughter and ability and sighing and frocks and curls. This passive place, a summer's nimble mansion where bloom and bees fulfilled their oriental circuit, then ceased like these. That's who all of us are. If we identify ourselves with our body, the fact is that everything in this physical universe doesn't meet the definition of what is real. Who you are is that soul that I spoke about a few moments ago, that soul that says, I want to expand, I want to be free, I want to go to a place where I understand that who I am is birthless, deathless, changeless, and live from that place. Because what this involves fundamentally is reprogramming yourself from the belief system that has been your ego, the part of us that has come to believe that who we are is what we have, and who we are is what we do, and who we are is what other people think of us, like our reputation, and who we are is separate from each other, and most egregiously, who we are separate from God, from our source. And so we've been raised and taken out into the world and said, go out there and prove who you are by achieving, by accumulating, by getting other people to like you. And I wrote a book and did a film not too long ago called The Shift. And in there I spoke about and used these words, the direction we take in life is far more important than the place that our ego parks us in this present moment. That who we are is this divine, infinite being that keeps occupying new bodies endlessly until we leave this body and then move on, and there is no beginning, there is no end, there is only now, each and every one of us. So, the soul, the part of you that is extraordinary, the part of you that came into this world and knows, I can be anything. I can do anything. I can accomplish anything that I place my attention on. Because if you want to accomplish something, you must first just expect it of yourself. And this means changing around the expectations that you've been conditioned to believe are your dharma or are your destiny. I am limited. I am not entitled to prosperity. I am unable to deal with my physical ailments. I need something else. I need to take pills in order to do it. I need to have somebody else do it for me. That within each and every one of us, there is this marvelous knowing that is really and truly God, ourselves, each and every one of us. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're very kind. You're very kind. Over the years, I've written many books, 37 of them to be exact. This, what has come to be really clear to me in the last few years of my life is that there really are two selves within each and every one of us. Muktananda called the ego the part of us that has edged God out. Ego, edge God out. The false self, and the false self is this part of us that is not authentic. It is the ego. This false self is the part of us that is always trying to win, trying to own things, trying to prove itself. We send our kids off to school and we tell them, be ahead of everybody else, win no matter what, and so on. And they have a tendency just to believe that who they are these bodies, even though the body they're in is going to change and you'll never be able to find it again. And then there's within each and every one of us a higher self. And this higher self is really the soul. It's really the spirit. It's really God. But these two selves are sort of constantly they're not at war so much with each other, but there's this battleground that we have within us. I'll give you an example of it in my own life. Somebody on the internet, a guy named Watkins, has put out a list, because there's lists for everything, the 100 most spiritually influential people alive. And they put out this list, 100 people, and they rank from number 1 to 100. And I'm on the list. I'm one of the, thank you. Not only am I on the list, but I am, according to this list, and they've got all this criteria, all you get on this list, I am the 3rd most spiritually influential person alive. How about that, huh? So the spiritual part of myself, my soul, the higher place within myself, says to me, this is not relevant. You're not any better than anybody else just because somebody has put you on a list. In fact, you shouldn't even know about that list. And perhaps the people who are most spiritually influential aren't even on that list and don't even want to be on the list because they don't care about those kinds of rankings and comparisons and so on. But then there's the ego over here that says, what do you mean number 3? What's going on with that? And who are these people who are more spiritually influential than you? And how are you going to take them down? So this is sort of constant thing about it shouldn't make any difference who I am is, it's the same as everyone else. We all come from the same place and we all return back to the same place. But then the ego says, let's see, the two people ahead of me on this list, one of them is Eckhart Tolle, but he had Oprah and she's only number 8 on the list anyway. So, and he got on there every week and that's not fair. So, and then there's the Dalai Lama, and I figure Eckhart and I maybe can get together and take the Dalai Lama out of his head, or maybe I should align with the Dalai Lama. And anyway, the ego is doing this number on us, but there's also the part of us that is divine, and this is the place that I'm addressing here in this program. There's a quote from Joel Goldsmith. Joel wrote so many great books. A Parenthesis in Eternity was one of them. And this is what Joel said. He said, "Then there are those who reach a stage in which they realize the futility of this constant striving and struggling for the things that perish, things which, after they are obtained, prove to be shadows. It is at this stage that some persons turn from this seeking for things in the outer realm who is seeking for them from God. You have been facing the wrong way. The most important insight you can have is to realize that you have been facing the wrong way for the better part of your life. Take a moment right now to experience what I mean. Picture yourself in any position that you like, standing, sitting, lying down, whatever is easiest for you to imagine. Now look at that mental picture of yourself. What you see in this exercise is a you who is always looking away from yourself, always looking outside of yourself. You are facing the wrong way. Now, imagine being able to shift around and face the opposite direction. If you could, in some magical way, do so, then you would be facing inward. We've all been taught to look outside of ourselves for sustenance, to look beyond the self for power, love, prosperity, health, happiness, and spiritual fulfillment. We've been conditioned to believe we get life's bounty from somewhere outside of ourselves, but it's possible to reverse our gaze from outward to inward. And when we do, we find an energy we've sensed, but not previously identified. There dwells within all human beings a divine energy. The power of this energy permeates our entire being and permits us to perform every function in the vast repertoire of human thoughts and behaviors. There are two aspects to this divine energy. The outer aspect causes the heart to beat and the lungs to inflate and the senses to function. It essentially keeps our physical bodies alive. The inner aspect of this energy is dormant, but it can be awakened. This inner universe is vaster than the outer universe. Inner joy makes all joy that is experienced in the world of the senses seem meaningless. When the divine light within you is experienced directly, it adds a radiance to life unlike anything that can be described with words or pictures. When you discover your sacred self, you awaken this dormant inner energy and let it guide your life. The word most commonly used to describe this inner force is spiritual. When I talk about spirituality and being spiritual, I am describing an attitude toward God and the inner journey of enlightenment. I'm speaking of expanding the God-like qualities of love, forgiveness, kindness, and bliss within ourselves. In my interpretation, spirituality is not dogma or rules. It is light and joy, and focuses on the experience of love and inner bliss, radiating those qualities outward. I call the journey to discover your sacred self, your sacred quest. You need to begin looking inward at who you are and why you are here, instead of outward at the physical world and things within it. There was an instant in time when you were nowhere. The moment before your conception, you were nowhere. Then, in one holy instant, you went from nowhere to now here. There will be another holy instant when you will go from nowhere to now here. We call that moment death. Yet you, the divine, changeless, eternal, invisible you, will live on. If it is true that we are part of an intelligent system, we can assume that we go from nowhere to now here for some purpose. With this realization, you can stop doubting that you are a divine creation with purpose, and just accept that you are a part of this intelligent system, and you are here for some divine reason. That reason, you can surely guess, is concerned with the spiritual inner energy I am writing about. Knowing your spiritual self is your sacred quest and your life challenge. So many of us have grown up believing that who we are is this body we carry around, the job we perform, and the religion we practice. Our lives are involved with externals at the same time that we see that they are always changing and shifting. Yet, somewhere inside of ourselves, we feel the same. You may not have given that self aspect much of your awareness, but if you do, you will discover an inner self that never changes, but is trapped in a changing world. Someday, your physical self will probably rest beneath a tombstone that records the date of your birth and the date of your death. But your inner soul knows you are eternal. Knowing this in a way that leaves no room for doubt will greatly enable your sacred quest. When you reach that state, knowing that who you are is the unchanging self, you will be on purpose in your life. Sergio Rinpoche, in the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, puts this into words that are worth framing in the modern world. There are a few examples of human beings who embody the qualities that come from realizing the nature of mind. So it is hard for us even to imagine enlightenment or the perception of an enlightened being. And even harder to begin to think that we ourselves could become enlightened. Even if we were to think of the possibility of enlightenment, one look at what composes our ordinary mind, anger, greed, jealousy, spite, cruelty, lust, fear, anxiety, and turmoil would undermine forever any hope of achieving it. Enlightenment, he continues, is real, and each of us, whoever we are, can in the right circumstances and with the right training realize the nature of mind and so know in us what is deathless and eternally pure. This is the promise of all the mystical traditions of the world, and it has been fulfilled and is being fulfilled in countless thousands of human lives. You can be one of those thousands of enlightened humans. This will happen as you discover the nature of your true self and relegate the part of yourself that is centered on the physical to the background where it belongs. From there, it can cheer you on and support your higher self, rather than act in ways that sabotage your true spiritual essence. This whole business of a sacred quest is real, and you can know it, love it, and cherish it. Once you do, you will never want to go back to any way of living that is inconsistent with your divine, though invisible, self. You are not that name, that occupation, that social security number, that body. You are eternally light and divine, regardless of what you have done or failed to do, regardless of what family you lived in, or what you may have been labeled. You are holy, and you have a purpose for being here. How will you experience your physical life when you have met this challenge of facing inward and living by the directives of your spiritual self? You will still chop wood and carry water, as the ancient Zen proverb tells us. You will not suddenly develop totally new talents or interests. However, you will have a level of awareness that lets you see things that have been hidden. Here are some of the insights that will give you a sense of peace and inner fulfillment. You will experience and enhance the meaningfulness of coincidences. You will become aware that there are no accidents in this intelligent system. You realize that everything that shows up in your life has something to teach you. You appreciate everyone and everything in your life. You are unable to entertain any doubts about the universal source of energy. You know that all beings are part of it and receive sustenance from it. You are convinced that all weakness and falsehood come from a refusal to know this. You will feel loved. You will call for and accept divine guidance. This vital spiritual nourishment is felt in both your inner and outer experiences. Immobilizing fear diminishes as you feel the presence of the divine energy within you. All seems as it should be, even though you may not understand it. Your desires to right wrongs and fix the broken parts of your life are also part of this divine plan. You pursue your desires to serve God and humanity with clarity and peace. By focusing your inner energy on the beauty that surrounds you, you will receive that energy from your surroundings. With practice, this kind of receptiveness will become a source of strength and sustenance in your daily life. You will sense that anything that is destructive to one human is destructive to all. This higher awareness will lead you to the conclusion that Mahatma Gandhi came to, that God has no religion. That awareness will give you a loving energy that will help to bring all of us together. You will make a new agreement with reality. When your soul becomes the guiding force in your life, you will break the ordinary agreement with reality. Intellectually and physically, your level of awareness will shift so dramatically that you will no longer feel bound by the agreement that defines reality for most others. You will experience surrender and acceptance. You will finally stop fighting and simply let go. You will accept that God knows what she is doing. This surrendering process will make you more effective in your sacred quest. You will become a waking dreamer. Everything that you are capable of achieving while dreaming will be possible while awake. The power of your mind to manifest what previously could only occur in sleeping dreams will begin to be your awakened reality. Some people take a lifetime to learn how to become a waking dreamer, to literally be in a dream state while awake. With your heightened awareness and the guidance of your higher self, you will become one of those waking dreamers. You will know the power and ecstasy of silence. As Herman Melville wrote, "Silence is the only voice of our God. All profound things and emotions of things are preceded and attended by silence." You will know that there is a spiritual solution to every problem. Problems such as addictions to drugs, foods, and alcohol have solutions in your higher self. By going within, you will see your excessive desires for something outside of yourself as an inadequate refuge for worldly pain. When you begin to achieve the highest levels of pleasure and euphoria by facing inward, the desire and the need for externals will simply disappear. Every problem, be it with relationships, finances, health, or self-image, has a solution in the sacred self. When you are peaceful, experience silence, meditate, and listen, really listen to God, you will be directed away from the worldly and toward the divinity that is within you. You will know what you need to do. You will shift from acquiring to sharing. You will desire less and yet feel more fulfilled. You will shift your attention away from yourself and take pleasure in serving others. You will live authentically. You will accept yourself, knowing that whatever behaviors you exhibited in the past, even the ones that may have been destructive and immoral, were a part of who you were at the time, and they had great lessons built into them for you to transcend. You will be able to say with conviction, "I am what I am." While some of the people who are close to you may find this difficult to accept, you will no longer be able to compromise.